Hello. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma, also known as Made in the Moment. Today I'm going to be showing you some of the basics of how to do knit color work in preparation for the release of my knit duck sweater pattern. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through how I made this little cherry wall hanging. If you want to follow along with the chart, you can download it on my website for free. That will be linked below. And the duck sweater pattern is coming out on July 6th, so that will be linked down below as well once it is released. I think that this is a great little practice project. If you've never done color work before and you want to try it out with something pretty low stakes, you can just make yourself a little square and use it as a coaster or as a little wall decoration or as a square to add to a bunch of other squares. If you like this design and want to put it on something else, then you're welcome to do that as long as you give me credit as the designer and direct people to the graph if they're interested. If you like this video and want to see what else I'm up to, you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. I post pretty regularly on both of those. And without further ado, let's get into the video. What you will need for this video is 3 different colors, 5mm or 6mm needles, and some scissors. I'm using circular needles, but you can also just use straight needles. So today I'm going to be using this graph. If you would like to make this, then it will be available to download on my website. Since I'm just going to knit a square and I want to do it in stockinette, I'm knitting myself a little bit of a border around the edge just so that it doesn't curl up. So I started off by casting on 30 stitches. So I'll have a border of 5 stitches on each edge and then this little border at the bottom. And what I have so far is just garter stitch, which is knitting every row. And the garter stitch is about an inch high. So the first thing you need to know about the way that a color work chart works is that each square represents 1 stitch. So on the right side, each one represents a knit stitch, and on the wrong side, each one represents a purl stitch. Like I said, I'm going to start off with a border. So I'm going to knit 5 stitches. And then just so it's easier to see where the border starts and where the graph starts, I'm just going to put a stitch marker onto my needle, and then my chart starts right on this stitch. So I'm going to start with 2 white stitches, and then I'm going to move on to the red. So to attach my color, I just loop like this, and on the next knit stitch, instead of knitting with this white, I'm just going to loop it on with the red. And you can see this has left kind of a gap right here. I know some people are kind of weird about not tying knots in your knitting, but I'm just not sure what better way there is to make sure it doesn't unravel. So I just tie the tail of the old color with the new color. So this is how I prevent the gap when I'm just attaching a color. So then I'm going to knit 4 more stitches with the red. And then I want to change back to the white. You want to make sure that when you're changing colors, the new color goes over the old color, like this. You can see the white is on top of the red is underneath. That's so when you pick up the red next, it comes like this, and they sort of twist together, and it holds the white in place. So that's called locking your floats. So the white is floating along the stitches at the back, and you're going to lock it in by putting it over the red. If you do it this way, when you go to change the red later, then it will just be kind of hanging loose. New color over the old color, and all you have to do is just make sure that this old color is underneath and out of the way, and then you change back to the white, just like that. And then at this point, I like to just make sure that these 2 colors are nice and even and pulled fairly tight. And you can see there's no gap here. You'll see better as we continue on. So now I'm going to knit 5 more stitches in the white. And then I'm actually going to attach a second end of this red for the second cherry. So I'm going to do the same thing where I knit like this and then tie the tail with the old yarn And then I'm going to knit 5 more stitches in the red. And then change back to the white using the same float method where the new color goes over the old color. And then again, just so it's easier to see, I'm going to slip a stitch marker onto my needle and then knit my 5 stitches at the border. And that is the first row of the chart. I'm going to turn it around and show you what to do for the second one. So now I'm going to turn my work, and this is the wrong side. Everything between the stitch markers is going to be purled, and everything on the outside of the stitch markers is garter stitch, so it's going to be knit. So I'm going to start by knitting 5 stitches. And then slip my marker, so I'm going to purl 1 white stitch, and then switch to the red. And this is the same thing where you want the new yarn to go over the old yarn. So in this case, we're taking the yarn underneath and then over. So you want it to be over as it goes into the stitch, not over like this, because then you can see the white tail is just hanging by itself. You want to lock that inside your color change. Then I'm going to keep knitting in the red. I usually like to keep my floats under like 3 or 4 stitches, so I'm going to do a second float catch here. So all I'm doing is just pulling the white across and then catching it in the red here. I'm not adding it to the stitch or anything, but it's just kind of locked in a little bit, so that way the float is not so long by itself. And here you're going to do the same thing where the new color goes over the old color. And then here again, the new color is going to come around and over the old color. Same thing as what we did over here. Pull tight. And I'm going to do the same thing here where I catch this float. And then change colors. Again, new color over the old color. And then here, after my stitch marker, I'm going to knit. So I'm going to show you just how to catch the floats on the right side, like when you're not adding in a color. So I've already done my 5 knit stitches. I'm going to knit 1. So we want the new color to be over the old color. So the way you're going to do that is kind of cross them like this, and then wrap around to knit. So you can see that the old color is nice and secure back here, and there's no gap between the stitches. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the wrong side where I kind of catch the white float every few stitches. And to do that, I'm going to do the same thing that I would do to change colors, where I cross and bring this around. And then to change back to the white is just going to come over the red. And same thing when we get to this color change, the red needs to go under to go over. So it twists around like this. And then I just kind of pull to adjust the stitches. Then I slip my marker and knit to the end of the row. And here's what I have so far. It's basically just the same all the way till you finish. Here's how it turned out. I ended up finishing it off by putting this old little knitting needle into the top stitches instead of binding off, and then adding a crochet chain so that I can hang it up. I'll show you what it looks like on my wall as well. I hope this helps make color changing make a little bit more sense. For a lot of these smaller details, like the little white highlights and some parts of the stem, you could also do duplicate stitching, and that's something that I also want to make a tutorial for pretty soon. So if you're interested in that, then let me know and I'll show you how to do that. If you like this video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my other videos, and leave a comment and let me know what kinds of tutorials you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.